Hello, Abnormal Investigations. I've got another encounter for you today, and I think you're really going to enjoy this one. It involves a Dogman, and it happened a little ways from Skinwalker Ranch. So, let's get into this one. It has been a few years since this event, and I still find myself glancing over my shoulder from time to time. I'm going to start off by saying I live in Utah, about an hour or two drive to Skinwalker Ranch. I'm also going to say that I was with my father and grandfather when this event happened. The day started like any other weekend day, early morning and nothing better to do. I'd just gotten my hunter's permit 3 months before, and I was woken up by my dad dressed up to go out hunting for coyotes and or rabbit hunting. As I got up, my dad had already set out pants, long socks, and other clothing to go out to track the long distance and prevent unwanted parasites from biting. It took me about 5 minutes to get up and get dressed before we spent the next 20 minutes getting his truck loaded with our rifles and our ammo and everything else we was taking. That morning, once we got on the road, we headed to my grandparents' house to pick him up, and we were on our way to my favorite hunting spot. It was about 45 minutes of driving due to the traffic from construction. Once we arrived at what they call Blood Hill, we started to unload our gear in packs. Understand, the name they gave this hill is because you could run rabbits and coyotes up the side of it, slowing them down and just unload, picking them off one by one. Anyway, we got loaded up and got all of our extra magazines in our pockets in case we ran out. As we began our push, we went over safety instructions, knowing where each other would be and how wide of a shooting circle we would have. As we got close to the hill, we had each other emptied at least 3 magazines each and made quite a mess of rabbits and or coyotes. As we pushed back to the truck, I spotted movement on the top of the ridge. It was on the top of the hill, and it matched what looked like a coyote. As I pointed it out, my grandfather and I were pretty competitive at this point, both pulled up on this coyote, in quotations, both getting ready to squeeze off, and we did. That was when we hear a blood-chilling cry of what was something like a coyote yelp and a scream of a person. Then saw it, this creature we had pulled up on, stood up on its hind legs, and what we saw was something of nightmares. This creature had the head of a coyote, with mange, skinny, dark arms ending in claws, and splotches of fur on parts that we could see. We didn't stick around long, as we all took off running to the truck, only hearing the growls and thundering of run of what was chasing us. Once we got back to the truck, we all got into the truck, not caring our rifles could go off, or slamming the door shut in a panic. Just as my dad got his keys in the ignition, we were slammed onto the driver's side of the truck, and terrible sounds of what was similar to metal on metal heard a slam on the windows. As this thing was trying to get into the truck with us in the truck, roared to life and lurched forward as my dad took off, throwing the creature off. As we drove like bats out of hell on the gravel road, I looked back in the window, and what I saw would stay with me all of my life. This thing was keeping up just inside the dust cloud. We were kicking up dust everywhere. Just then we hit the tar, Mac, and it felt like we rolled, but by some miracle it hadn't, and this thing stopped just on the gravel road we came off of. As I watched this thing stand there watching us drive away, and it growing smaller just from the distance, we felt safe, as if we had got away from an impending doom. Time-lapse 3 months, I had learned that we saw, and what we saw, matched a Dogman, which got me hooked onto the Dogman paranoia. I still read about it, but there is no way I would want to encounter this thing again. People don't understand how scary it is to be in the middle of the woods. Nobody around, no houses to run to, no other people to call to for help. And when you're chased by something like this, it's a feeling of doom. And then you wonder, how would it take care of you? Would it be fast? Would it be slow? What would it do to you? Would it kill you? Would it take you? How many other ones are there? Mike, I hope this never happens to me again. There was an incident that I had. We had been fishing, and something had come up, and it was looking through the tree at us. I'm not real sure what it was. It was tall. It acted like it had a hunched back, and it did walk at me and Mom. I've talked about it a little bit, but when we was leaving, we had to drive through the trees like a trail that went up through these trees. And you had to go pretty slow because your mirror on your truck would almost hit some of the trees that you had to drive down the path on. It ran up and hit the side of my truck. It was very dark, but we all heard the door handle. My door handles are the poke buttons that go in. It's an old Ford truck. And you could hear the door handle going in and out just over and over and over and pulling on my door. So they will try to get into your truck. They know how your door handles work because this thing was trying over and over to get in mine. Luckily, we were close enough to the gravel road. I was able to pull onto it and accelerate. But things do go through your mind. I mean, things went through my mind. I thought about, what if my truck failed? What if it died? What if I got a flat? What if it wouldn't start? A lot of those things go through your mind, and then you think, what would have happened? Would I have been able to fend it off? Would it have left? Or would it have continued the attack? So I know what you're talking about when you talk about how scary it is, because I've been there many times. The other night I went boots on the ground. I was alone, and those things cross your mind. You wonder, what if it don't just holler at you? What if it doesn't just walk around? What if it decides to come at you? A lot of those things go through your mind, and you sit there and you try to prepare yourself, but I don't think we can ever totally prepare ourselves for what these things might do because, honestly, we don't know. Every time we're out there, we take a guess. There's a lot of people in this field that say that they're experts, but in my opinion, there is no experts in this field. None of us have enough experience with these to know exactly what they're doing, how they're going to approach. A lot of people like to say they do, and I think that's dangerous. I believe it gives people a misconception, and it causes people to put themselves in harm's way whenever they believe these people. Trust me, we don't know enough about these things to call ourselves experts. And I think that we should always use caution. And I've told people, I always try to treat them, and I do not believe they're an animal, but I've always tried to treat them kind of like you would a dangerous predator or a larger animal. Give them their space. Don't crowd them. Don't block them in. And give them an escape route. Because I feel like if you don't give them one, then they're going to feel like they don't have any other, choice but to attack you. So just a little bit of advice. I'm not saying it's the right advice. I'm just telling you what I do. Like I said, there's no experts. But I appreciate you sending in your encounter. I really enjoyed it, and it kind of brought back memories for me. If any of you guys out there have any encounters you'd like to tell me, or you'd like to come on the show possibly and tell me your encounters and spend a Saturday night with us, hit me an email, abnormalinvestigations77@gmail.com, abnormalinvestigations at or 77@gmail.com, guys, and I'd love to hear your encounters. Thank you for listening, and as always, keep your head on a swivel, and we'll see you on the next one.